What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Sorry we couldn't bring this to you earlier. We were dying to, but we just got caught up in a couple of things and couldn't be there. But things have progressed even more since we brought you the update. We know that we got the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. We know we got the bomber from David Ornstein. Mohamed Kudus will be a Tottenham player. Medical looks like it's going to be tomorrow. We're all buzzing for it, but there's a few more bits and pieces about the deal that we're going to clear up for you guys today, and we've got some more transfer news regarding some other specific players, which we're going to get into. So let's just get straight into it, and then we can have a little chat afterwards. But on the Kudus deal, Sammy Mokbel says at least 6 other top clubs understood to have inquired about a potential deal for Mohamed Kudus, but the Ghanaian prioritised the move to Spurs above any other football club this summer. Sky Sports says that Chelsea and Newcastle both expressed interest in Kudus early in the window, but Kudus only wanted a move to Spurs. Sam C says that Atletico Madrid were one of the clubs interested in Kudus, and Spurs ITK Spurs Journo says that 3 different Premier League clubs offered Kudus a package higher wages than Spurs, but he only wanted Spurs. So there's other bits and pieces to get into on Kudus, but on that basis alone, that's quite unbelievable. It's got to be an absolute bitter pill to swallow if you're a West Ham fan.
100%. But in terms of better packages, who would they have been? I mean, would have been? I find that hard to believe. I mean, maybe Chelsea I can believe, but who else would have been? More Newcastle, maybe. But obviously, they spent. To be fair, they did spend a very similar fee on Alanga, so maybe they were also interested in sniffing around. I can't think who else.
Packages, wages.
I know. Who else would have offered him the wages? I'm trying to think. Who. No. He said 3 Premier League teams.
Oh, Premier League teams. I mean, Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal potentially. I don't know.
Arsenal, yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, we know Newcastle and Arsenal are looking for a right winger, so maybe it was those two that offered the wages as well. But for some reason, I don't know what it is, but he was just so determined to boil as much piss as possible that he only wanted Tottenham. Absolutely love it, and I'm all here for it. It's a fantastic deal for Tottenham. It's definitely it must be a bitter pill to swallow. I've just been watching some reactions from West Ham fans, and they are salty as hell. They're salty as anything about this deal, saying he's going to flop. He's not even a good player. All these different things. So it's going to be interesting to see. Once you go to the Olympic Stadium, all that kind of stuff, the actual reaction, and if there's going to be the massive blowback about what they were talking about on social media about any in-person demonstrations against the board and all these kind of things. But whatever, we can put it all to one side. I just think from Tottenham's point of view, I'm just delighted we've got this signing. I think it's such an exciting deal, such an exciting player. And I just can't believe we've done it for 55 million, as Jacob Steinberg said, spread over 3 years. So pretty good deal, pretty decent payment terms from Tottenham's point of view. I mean, it's just, I can't believe it was as simple as that, to be honest. And we got it, it was so much easier than I thought we would. And we got there early as well. We got the deal done and secured. Very, very good. Well done. And credit to Daniel Levy and the hierarchy for getting it done. You've got to give him credit because we were all saying, pay the money, do this, do that. And he didn't. He held his nerve and they got a great deal. And I think credit to him.
Yeah, I feel like he's really pulled West Ham's pants down. Sullivan and Brady must be like saying, how the hell has Levy got us to do this? 55 million when he had a release clause of 85 million. Spurs were the least club that they wanted him to join. And we've managed to get it 55 million when they were looking at 60 to 65. It's quite unbelievable when you think about it, the deal that's been done here. So, yeah, I want to give credit to everyone involved in getting this deal done. I'm delighted with it. I really am delighted with it. I think he fills a void in the squad that we haven't had in a while, and I can't wait to see him get started. And it's great that he's in before pre-season even starts as well in terms of the games. And the players are just filtering back now. Like you saw the international players come back today. Some players came back at the beginning of the week. And hopefully Kudus can join in some of the action tomorrow or on Friday. But in terms of some other bits and pieces from the deal, Tom Barkley says that this signing is seen as a major bit of business from a Thomas Frank, who made signing a new winger his top priority. Steinberg and Fabrizio both say that the fee of 55 million will be spread over the course of 3 years. And Graham Bailey says that Tottenham reduced the Kudus fee by 10 million. West Ham insisted they wanted 65 million for the forward, but eventually accepted a deal worth 55 million to sign Mohamed Kudus. It makes him the most expensive Ghanaian footballer in history. And a few other stats about Kudus to show you the level of player that we're dealing with here is that Kudus successfully completed more dribbles in the Premier League across the last 2 campaigns than any other player, which is 216. And only Lamine Yamal has won more offensive duels than Mohamed Kudus in the top 7 leagues this season, which is 261.
Yeah, incredible. And I think in his first season, he was one of the highest performing kind of attackers when it came to amount of tackles he was making and things like that, and how hard he was working. So for one reason or another, it went wrong from that aspect in the second season. But we know when he's on his game, he's not just a flair player and a player on the ball who's great. He actually can dig in and work very hard and do a good job off the ball for the team as well, which is going to be just as crucial, especially when we're looking to improve as a team and we need everyone to dig in and play their part. I'm just so excited now with our attacking options. If we can get Tell to fulfill his potential. Obviously, if Son stays, we know how good he is, and I still think he's got a lot to offer. You got Brennan, who was our top goal scorer last season. You got Decky, who can play out wide, and we know how good he can be. And now we've got Kudus there as well, who I think just takes that. In terms of just what we can offer and how we can threaten teams, it's like a completely new weapon to our armory. It's like we've got we've just added something to our arsenal. You know what I mean? And
no.
Okay, maybe that was the wrong term. We've got added something to. We got a new weapon. We've got a new weapon to play with, and I'm just delighted. I'm delighted that we've got him through the door, and I can't wait to see what he can do. I think we're going to be a lot more unpredictable now. I think in the forward line, there's going to be so many different ways we can hurt teams now, running in behind, long shots, and now we've got a player who can take the ball and run at you and dribble at you, and who's very, very hard to stop. And we haven't really had that in a long, long time. It's on the wing, especially, probably since Bale, and even in our team, someone who can just hang on to the ball in difficult situations and dribble out of trouble. Haven't had that probably since Dembele. So I think having that someone who you just know you can give the ball to, and he can hang on to the ball in difficult situations. That is going to make us so much harder to play against, so much harder to get the ball off as well. And it's going to make us a lot more difficult to transition on. So I think it's so exciting, like the thought of what he could bring, what he could do for us. And I think there's so many upsides to this deal. I just can't wait for him to get going.
Yeah, 100%. I'm absolutely buzzing for this deal, not only because of what it's going to bring us on the pitch, but also just how much the West Ham fans are seething right now. They really are. It's a joy to behold, and it's a delight to see. I called it football heritage before, and I think that's exactly what it is, in terms of Spurs going and taking one of West Ham's best players. And look, we'll get into a lot more about Kudus and the West Ham fans a bit later in the stream, but I want to bring you some more transfer news and speculation, and I want to go to Cuti Romero, as Javier Diaz from AS says that Atletico have grown tired in their pursuit of Cuti Romero and have now given up their attempts to sign him. Tottenham's response has always been blunt. They weren't going to sell Romero, and Atleti are now looking at different options. And Romano just relaying the information from earlier today, saying the Romero situation is quiet. Tottenham have not yet received any official bids from Romero, from Atletico Madrid. So, I mean, but AS, who were reporting, I think a week or two ago, they were saying much more positive things about Romero and Atletico Madrid. And now they're saying that Atletico looking at different options and have grown quite tired of trying to deal with Daniel Levy.
I don't think we've heard the last of this deal. I know Dario AS are a Spanish publication. They're very hit and miss, I would say, whether they're positive or negative about it. But whether it's true or not, I think it could easily be just is it are they putting out there to try and get Romero to try and kick up a fuss and force a move and try and get Tottenham to soften their stance? Is that kind of part of them putting this kind of news out there? Is it genuinely? Are they genuinely looking at other options? And are Tottenham going to be keeping Romero? And is Romero happy to stay? Look, Romero's just come back to Hotspur way today. We're going to get to the pictures later. So obviously, their conversations with Frank have to happen, and he has to see exactly where Romero's head's at before any decision from Tottenham side is made. If he has that decision with Frank, and he has a for want of a better term, a Frank chat with him, and he says to Thomas, look, I like Tottenham, but I really think I need to leave, and I really think that's where my head's at the moment. Then Tottenham's stance will soften. It will. They're not going to keep him if his head's looking leaving, even if it's not about him putting up a fuss. If his head's not, in at Tottenham, then Frank's the kind of manager who only wants players who want to be here. He's not going to want players against their will. But if he's talking to him and he's like, look, I'm happy to stay here. I'm fully committed to it. Yes, if a bid comes in, I'm open to Atletico, but I'm very committed to staying at Tottenham. I'm not going to sign a contract, but I am really happy here. I love my teammates, and I'm obviously my head's very much here. Maybe there's more of a case that we can keep him, but I just can't see him signing a contract. So how much that plays on Tottenham's minds when they're negotiating, we'll have to wait and see. But of course, Atletico are never going to get this deal done this early. We all know that, with the fee that we want and the caliber of player and his stature at the club, and also how good he is of a defender. Tottenham are always going to play hardball with this. And so if they felt they can just get a deal done early with their opening offer, that was never going to happen. So if they're growing frustrated, doesn't surprise me, but I don't think they're going to walk away just yet. It only tells me they're going to come back.
Yeah, they might very well come back, but will they ever offer enough money for Spurs to bite the bullet and say yes? I don't know. Like, we've always heard that the valuations are way too far apart. We've heard that Romero is not gonna put in a transfer request, isn't gonna kick up a fuss. He knows that the longer his contract runs down, the more power he gets. So is this just a case to say, look, just wait and see what happens in the window? But there is a strong case to say Romero could stay.
It's always a possibility, and I'm happy for him to stay. I hope he does. I don't next summer, we'll probably get less money, but maybe during the year, if he's really believing in what Frank's doing, maybe we can convince him to sign. I think signings like Kudus will help, to be honest, because we know that he complains about level of signing, and he complains about who we kind of go with, and we know push on and things like that. We've heard him say those words to Argentinian press. So I think signings like Kudus I think he'll like that. But again, I don't know that I don't think that alone is going to convince him that we're changing our ways and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think that'll definitely be a step in the right direction. And maybe next season, if we're really challenging where we should be, back up amongst for the Champions League spots in the league and doing well in the cups and stuff, maybe you'll think, look, maybe my future could be here. But I think right now, with the frustration he clearly outwardly showed last season in some interviews and all the rumours and stuff, I don't think he's sitting here at the moment contemplating signing a new deal. So I think Spurs have to live with that, and if they're okay to live with that, then there's definitely opportunity for him to stay. But some players, they weren't okay to live with it.
Yeah. But they were okay to live with it with Harry Kane. They let him run down till a year to go, and then he obviously left to Bayern Munich. So maybe if just they think it's going to make the hell of a difference, the world of difference for us in the league next season, they're not going to sell him for a very much undervalued fee. And I don't think they'll sell him for an undervalued fee anyway. And that's the only fees that Atletico have been rumoured to willing to spend.
Yeah, again, it depends. It depends how that conversation goes with Thomas Frank. I'm not saying undervalued, I'm not saying massively, but I think they'll compromise on a fee, I think, if that conversation goes not in the way they hope.
But look, that is the story right now, is that AS are saying that they've given up. and they're moving on to other targets within the market. Whether that's true or not remains to be seen, and we'll I guess we'll see if they actually do in the next week or so. But other news regarding Yoane Wissa that we brought to you earlier today, Sky Sports are now saying it's expected that there's going to be club-to-club talks between Spurs and Brentford over a deal for Yoane Wissa, which is extremely interesting. We know that he's only got a year left in his contract. We heard a report, I can't remember who it was from, saying they're going to want 50 million or something for Yoane Wissa, which is crazy money for his age, the time left in his contract. I think if they're willing to go into club negotiations, Frank will know what kind of fee they'll be willing to accept.
Yeah, and obviously they're currently in negotiations with Mbeumo, with United from Mbeumo as well. So how much of an impact that has, we'll have to wait and see. But I think we spoke about it before. It's a very interesting deal, and I think it's a play in terms of replacing Richarlison with him. I think for me, that's a really good deal, and I think he's someone who's really been improving year on year. He offers a different threat to what Solanke offers. He's definitely more of a bit more of a poacher, running behind kind of attacker. Also very used to playing in a 2 with a support striker as well. Can play a kind of wide forward. He's just what he's very good at is similar to Son. He's very good at making runs. He's got very good timing of his runs. Very good at making space for himself, and I think he's a pretty decent finisher as well. I wouldn't say he's like. I think he is similar to Mbeumo. He's in terms of he's gotten more clinical as time's gone on and getting in those positions. I wouldn't say he's like an elite finisher. But he gets in very good positions, and I think he's might be a player when I'm comparing him to Solanke, just very much more quicker off the block, quicker kind of getting shots off and things like that. Again, I don't see him as a striker who. Similar to Solanke, like when I watch some of his goals or score, like he's very much going to run in behind and finish kind of goal scorer. He's not kind of one who's going to get the ball, make some space for himself, and curl it into the corner. He's capable of that, but he's not like an elite player, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't expect like some like really crazy goals from him. But he's an effective player. He's very effective, and he makes the most out of what he's got, and he definitely does that. And I know Frank knows exactly how to get the most out of what he offers. So I think if he can get him scoring at a similar rate to what he was doing at Brentford, and you have him back up to Solanke, I think that could be something really, really promising. And the fact that we're going for him on top of Kudus is really good as well. I didn't want it to be instead of we needed someone like Kudus and with his skill set. I think that was a must. But to get someone like Wissa on top of that, add more goals to the front line, and again, more different variations of threat as well, because we don't really have someone. I guess we have Son, but the difference with Wissa and Son is Wissa just has that little bit more physicality to hold off defenders and stuff. With Son, like once he's away from a defender, it's very hard to stop him. But once a defender gets close to him, it's difficult for him to get away from him. And sometimes he can get out of muscle. Wissa's a bit different. He can hold the players off when he's running on goal, and he can use the physicality in that kind of way. So it's a different kind of threat that we don't really have, I feel, in the squad when it comes to a pure number 9 running in behind, that kind of thing. So I think that is also another profile which could really fit. But yeah, 50 million is a bit ridiculous. So I think if that's the price they're going with, we should move on to our different targets.
That's not the price that they're going to be going with. If that's the price that they're going with, there's no chance we'd even entertain club-to-club talks. I'm telling you, Thomas Frank will know a lot more about the thinking of what's going on behind the scenes at Brentford for sure. And with 1 year left, his age, my prediction is something between half of what that 50 million fee is, 25, 20, around that ballpark figure. But you've got a player who's got double-digit goals in the Premier League over the last 2 years, 12 goals last season, 2 seasons ago, and 19 last season. Frank knows how to get the best out of this guy, and to have him in competition with Dom Solanke, to have Kudus in competition with Brennan Johnson, and on the left-hand side, if Sonny stays, to have Sonny in competition with Matisse Tell, then you're really starting to see a front three where you can get behind. Because over the last couple of years, you've had a few players here and there which you can see good stuff from, but now we've got real options and real competition for places if we bring Wissa in.
Yeah, and so many versatile players as well who can play in multiple different positions, and again, that's going to make us a lot more unpredictable. Some games maybe we want Kudus on the left, just running down the line, and we know he's pretty much the only player who can go on the outside on the left. Sometimes we're going to want Johnson there. Sometimes we're going to want Wissa running in behind up front. Sometimes we're going to want two up front. All these different things. Frank is going to have all the different variations he wants, basically, and he can pick and choose for any specific opponent, any specific game, what he feels is best tactically, and that is what's so exciting about this potentially.
Mm. And also, when you compare him to Richarlison, and you compare him to the sheer amount of football he's played over the last 4 years, right?
Yeah,
he's always available. Wissa, he rarely gets injured. I think he played in pretty much every Brentford game last season.
his last
games.
season, 35, 34, 38
Exactly.
appearances.
So there you go. Compare that to Richarlison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, which is 9 days.
Yeah, so that's obviously a big aspect of it as well, in my opinion, why it's such a important signing to make. And I think us, with potentially going into club talks with Brentford, if that is true, that is going to signal the end of Richarlison. It'll be interesting to see where he goes.
100%, he has to leave, I guess, because who else is going to leave? Unless Son is going to leave, or Odebear, or someone like that. I mean, to be honest, even if he's going to come in with Kudus, then two have to leave, really. Because again, I don't know where the squad space is coming. So unless we're going to take it away from other positions, which again I don't know who it would be, then, or unless someone's not going to be in the Champions League squad, there's just no space. And it again brings up the age-old issue that we talk about in every video, which doesn't seem to go away, is the squad space for Europe. And I know a lot of people saying you keep going on about it and it's not a big deal, but at the end of the day, it is a big deal. And it's something that you can't just stick your head in the sand about. You're going to have to confront it at some point. It's not exciting or fun to talk about, but it's a real issue which we have to contend with. And that's the reality, because of the squad planning that we've had and because of where we are at the moment, in terms of how many players we do have, and adding more and more players is only going to exacerbate it. I'm not saying we shouldn't sign players. I'm just saying we still have to deal with that issue. It's not going to go away. So that is something that it's going to be very interesting to see how Frank, because any way he does deal with it, it's going to be something that's going to be interesting. Something's going to go down.
Yeah, something's got to give at the end of the day. And you do got to feel sorry for Brentford, though, man. 5 of their coaching staff, their manager, their captain, Norgard, Wissa and Buemo, all
Top
these
2
guys
goal
out the
scorers.
door. I mean, I don't know how they survived this, to be honest.
Well, it's going to be difficult, don't get me wrong. On the face of it, it's going to seem like an impossible challenge. But I also believe Brentford are the kind of club who have probably planned for this. They've probably known that any given summer.
A lot.
It's a hell of a lot. I think the biggest one is obviously Frank. But Frank himself said the structure of Brentford, allowed him to succeed. He said a lot of managers could have been successful here because of how they're run. That was his words. And I think they would have known. They planned for a lot of eventualities. I think they have a list, probably similar to Brighton. They probably have a list in all positions of players who they can get for good fees to replace players they currently have. And I'm sure they have it for Romero and for Wissa. So, look, as much as it's going to be, if you're a Brentford fan right now, I would rightly be extremely worried and concerned. I think wait till you see what business you do, and wait to what it looks like at the start of the season, because Brentford have just made a habit of especially proving me wrong, but proving a lot of people wrong when it comes to how screwed you think they are when certain things happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's one thing like losing Ivan Toney, and a few players here and there, but there's another thing of a complete mass exodus. And that's literally what's happened here. So look, we'll have to wait and see. But in terms of some other bits and pieces, a journalist called Nico Shearer is saying that Tottenham want to keep Luka Vuskovic around next season instead of sending him out on loan. One training session with Frank and Vuskovic is all in.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Shearer is a terrible source, but it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see what we do. But again, squad issue. Okay, regardless, I'm not going to keep mentioning it. I would love Vuskovic to get an opportunity next season. I think everyone is so excited about him. I think physically, He's got imperious aerial ability. We've seen that. I think if he was to get his opportunity, he could take a lot of people by surprise. The one thing I'm a bit worried about right now, where he is in at 18, he's so big and tall and strong. Is that going to right now where he is? Has he got the pace to deal with, Premier League attackers, that kind of thing? Is that going to be something he struggles with? Is that something he needs to learn? I think sometimes when you've got defenders like him, like they use their physical qualities massively, but when it comes to putting yourselves in positions and positional sense to not allow yourself basically to be outpaced and getting those positions right, so that like if he's in a foot race with a quick attacker, he might lose out, but making sure that he positions himself so he's not in that situation. But that comes with experience and time, knowing how to do that. I feel like when he was in the Belgium league, like he just relied on his physical traits, and he was just so physically dominant. Premier League is going to be different, right? At 18, yes, he's still very physical for his age, but when you're coming up against big strikers and strong strikers and difficult to face strikers, he's not going to be probably as physically dominant in the Premier League as he was in the Belgian league or the Polish league. So it's going to be difficult for him to adapt to that. Plus, you have the pace issue, in my opinion, which you need to have that experience to know how to deal with that, how to overcome that. So unless he's just so unbelievable, in pre-season, and we believe, look, this guy, we think he's ready, then maybe another Bundesliga loan. But look, there's no reason why he shouldn't be as ready as any other centre backs that we're looking at giving an opportunity to, like Takai. There's a chance he could be just as ready as him. So if we're going to give him a chance, I want Ruskovic to get a fair crack at it as well.
And last but not least, Nico Shearer as well says that Tottenham have named their price on Yves Bissouma, and it's 25 million euros, which is not too different from the prices that we've seen elsewhere.
What's that in pounds? 20 billion?
Yeah, 20, maybe just a little bit under, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he goes for less. I reckon we accept 50.
No, but I mean, that's probably going to be our starting point, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think definitely we'll accept something less than that, in my opinion. No one's going to be 25 million. We sold Højbjerg for 17, which I don't know what that is in euros at the time. I think it wasn't that 20 million euros, which was, well, I don't know. It was 17 million pounds, I know.
I think 25 million euros is about 21 million pounds or something like that.
Okay, so yeah, I think a similar price to Højbjerg, maybe a bit less. That's what I'm expecting, which I don't think is unfair.
I think as a starting price, that's what Spurs are going to start the negotiations at. But yeah, I think they're willing to go down to probably somewhere between 15 and 20.
And there's a new update from Bessenberg saying they said if all goes well, Tottenham expect to announce the deal tomorrow for Kudus.
Come on, announcement day tomorrow.
Announcement day.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Tomorrow, if everything goes planned, the deal is expected to be announced tomorrow already. Contract till 2031. Deal finalized by his agency, Roof. Big up to the Roof agency.
Big up. And Ali Gold saying the Kudus deal was pushed through by Johan Lang.
Come on.
Lang. I mean, I would hope he was
not so much working in the darkness this time.
Yeah, this was very public. Although the darkness wasn't there, but in terms of the deal, still took everyone by surprise. No one was really reporting it was close or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, bam, it was there. We were just talking in the morning, as you say, Graham Bailey reporting that the deal's stalling. We had Paul O'Keefe saying the deal's nowhere near done. And then out of nowhere, a bomber from Ornstein, deal agreed, and then here we go straight away. So that definitely took everyone by surprise, the fact that we got this deal done. And I am shocked, I'm surprised, I'm impressed, and I'm delighted.
You know what? Whatever you want to say about Johan Lang, if he's a good sporting director or not, is beside the question. But he really has brought the excitement of transfers back to Tottenham.
That's definitely true, and that might be worth it. The fact that at any point, that surprise now is back again, which it's just it's not just a Tottenham problem. It's obviously a football problem when you got Romero literally reporting on every single little detail, every single deal. Transfers have definitely lost that special kind of surprise factor and that enjoyment factor they used to have. I feel back in the day when you would just be watching Sky Sports News and then they'll just have a breaking news, and that's how transfers basically used to find out about them, and there was something special about that. And so that's obviously we've lost an element of that, but definitely in the last couple of years with Odegaard deal coming up absolutely nowhere, and some other deals. And there's been a lot of dramatic deals. Dragoshin, remember, that deal, how dramatic that was. Bergvall as well with Barcelona. Like, definitely has been a lot of excitement when it comes. I wonder if it's all PR and maybe they're a lot more simpler than the media put out, but just to make Tottenham more fans more excited. But I definitely get excited, a lot more excited with these deals.
Yeah, but look, that is your Tottenham update for today. Let us know your thoughts in all the news stories that we brought to you in the comments section below.
Everyone get your stories out. We need